Okay, so would you like me to speak English or Russian? English or Russian? Ah, pardon? Pardon? I didn't get it? Depends on me, right, okay. So then maybe English if you don't mind, right? So, but maybe, okay. So first let me introduce myself, a couple of words about myself, yes. So whenever you feel like asking any questions, you're welcome to interrupt me, right, and ask your questions, okay? My name is Nadezhda Rudenko, or Nadia for short, as you prefer. So I work as an assistant lecturer at the Department of English Language at Ural State Pedagogical University. Well, I teach English and intercultural communication mainly to students of the first year and the third year who are majoring in English. They are future, intending teachers or interpreters. So, as for today's lecture, it's really a great honor to me to be lecturing, to you. So, I'm very happy and excited to bring you all here. So, may I ask you a question? So, what are you majoring in? Translation? Yes? What's your major? Translation, yes, both English and Russian. Yes, am I right? Yes, okay, great. So, do you have handouts? Yes? Yeah, great, so that's it. Okay, so the focus of today's lecture is difficulties, yes, which may occur while translating from English into Russian and vice versa regarding the category of politeness. Okay, polite communication means following the rules of socially acceptable behavior. Right? However, the problem is that politeness is interpreted differently in both cultures, in the English culture and in the Russian culture. So, and the question to you, which culture do you find more polite in terms of communication style, communicative style? The English culture or the Russian culture? The English culture, naturally, seems to be more polite, right? So, and the problem is that while communicating, interlocutors sometimes misinterpret their partner's behavior, because of not knowing and being unaware of the rules of that polite behavior, right? So, and speaking about behavior, one of the component parts which usually linguists study and research is communicative behavior. So, communicative behavior is a sum total of norms and traditions typical of nations' communication. Right, so and researchers, especially Russian researchers, namely Tatyana Lavina and Iosif Stirnin, single out a great number of characteristic features of Russian and English communicative behavior which may lead to misunderstanding. So really there's a great number of those characteristics, but I would like to pay attention to two of them, which are very important to today's topic, politeness. So the first, directness or indirectness of communication. So as you may know, the English language seems to be very indirect. Yes, so usually answering questions, while the English people say, in my opinion, I think, it seems to me, right, and all those introductory phrases. So speaking about the Russian communicative behavior, Russians usually answer question directly, yes, no, yes, and this is the style we answer questions. So the second characteristic, which is very important, is the fact that the Russian communicative behavior is more emotional. Yes, it's normal for Russian people to demonstrate their emotions while talking, and it's quite normal. And with respect, especially to advice and recommendations, the Russians are really fond of making, giving advice and all sorts of recommendations. But speaking about the English people, their style is very reserved, right? And the English people are not in the habit of demonstrating their feelings and emotions. Okay, so and very accurate while giving recommendations, right? So that's it. So to sum it up, politeness is viewed differently in two cultures. So could you please tell me what you think? What does it mean to be polite in the English language? What kind of politeness is it? Okay. So to whom or with whom are the English people polite? With everybody or with some categories of people? Maybe, Dr. Chris can help us? Okay, so mainly, I guess I'm right, maybe if I'm wrong you can correct me. So for the Englishman, politeness is consideration for others in manners, mainly in one's manners, right? In one's speech. And the English people are mainly polite to everybody regardless of the social status, right? Or regardless of the, how close their relations are, right? But for the Russian people, politeness is somewhat different. Politeness for Russians is courtesy, abiding some social accepted rules. But it's something more demonstrative, I'd say, right? So, and usually we are polite not to everyone, but polite only, for example, to people who are older than we, in age, right? On the one hand, or maybe to people who hold, the higher social status, right? So, for example, when we, the simplest example is when we get in a bus, or we never say please or good morning or somewhat, yes? Just a few people say, thank you or please when they give money to the conductor. Yes, do you know who a conductor is? Yes, do you have such a phenomenon? Yes. Well, but it's my personal observation, when people in the English-speaking countries, for example in the USA or in Ireland or in Great Britain, when they get on the bus, they always say hello to the bus driver. Yes, for example. We do not do. It's not quite a normal thing to do. In general, I should say that in the Russian culture, politeness is not something we observe in everyday life. We're not rude, but we're not that polite, right? So that's why I should say that the English people, as distinct from the Russian people, use some strategies, to make them somehow behave and sound polite, and to be more exact, they are called distance strategies, right? Or distancing strategies. Well, it's clear so what distance is, right? So distance means, so what's the objective of distance? On the other hand, not to impose your point of view on other people, right? Not to intrude in their life, in their, I'd say, somehow not to show your emotions, not to show your attitude, too much to what is being spoken to you, right? And be quite reserved in your opinions, not to maybe offend people. But in Russian language, it's quite normal to recommend everything, to give advice, to think what your idea of what is being told is, and that's really the point. So, and now I suggest that we consider some examples. Right, we'll just have a look at your copies handouts, Appendix 1. Right, Appendix 1. So here we shall view some incentive speech acts. So incentive speech acts, maybe I'm not quite right to put it in English, but these are when we are willing to ask another person to do something for us, right? To give some advice, to give some recommendation, also, to ask for some requests and so on, right? These are incentive speech acts. So, and now what I suggest we do, have a look at the examples, both in the English language and in the Russian language, and could you please give me the ways how to make this or that sentence sound more polite in the English language? Okay? So what are the means to do it? For example, let's take the first group of examples, просьба, yes, or request. So, the first, could you please ring me back? Or in Russian, перезвони мне, пожалуйста. So, would you be kind enough to bring the book? Принесите книгу, пожалуйста. I wonder if you could help me write letter. Не поможете мне написать письмо. So, what specific of the English language? What means of expressing politeness should we use? So, could, would, what is it? Could, would. Okay, firstly, modal verbs. Do you agree? That modal verbs. Secondly, so usually in the English language when we ask something, we use questions. Yes? Do you see the questions? Yes? Could you, would you? It's a question. Then we use some modifiers. For example, kind, right? Kind enough. And sometimes we use introductory phrases such as I wonder, I was wondering, I was thinking, right? So if we have a look at the Russian examples, could you please tell me what grammar structure do we use in the Russian language for request? Перезвони, принеси. What is it? Okay? in English. What grammar structure is it? What mood is it? Well, indicative, imperative, subjunctive.
It doesn't ask about in English.
Okay? Imperative. Yes, imperative, or in Russian, повелительное наклонение, right? So, imperative. So, and which word in Russian examples is the marker of politeness? Which word is it? Yes? Which word? It's a very polite word in Russian language. No? Nobody? Is anybody talking? Or I don't just hear. I can get it. No? Пожалуйста. Yes? Is it right? Пожалуйста. So, I think that, well, and the researchers think that the word please in the English language is not that very polite. So if you use only the word please, it doesn't mean that you're polite. You should use other means, right? But in the Russian language, if you use the word please, you sound very, very, very polite. Okay? Is that clear? Right? Yes. So let's have a look at this second set of examples. Директивы, right? Распоряжение, приказ, инструкция. In the English it would be order or instruction, right? Order or instruction. So again, have a look at the instructions or orders, right, in the English language. Will you kindly open your handbag? In the Russian that would be откройте сумку, пожалуйста. Well, in the English, could I see your passport? Well, in the Russian, паспорт, пожалуйста, предъявите ваш паспорт. Again, so any characteristic features in the English and Russian language. Yes? No? Okay. So again, in the English language we may see that to show the idea of instruction or order, we should use the question, right, better. Again, some modifiers like kindly, right, and again it's a question form, right? So in the Russian language, again, we see the word пожалуйста, please, right? And again, it's imperative, right? It's just imperative. Okay, so let's have a look at the next section, совет, right? Or advice. So how should we give advice in the, in the English language and the Russian language? Okay. Well, is that clear? Maybe any questions? Is everything clear in the copies? Yes? Sure? Yes, okay. I guess so. So, well, so any means to express advice. Okay. Okay, shall I read the examples? Yes? No? No? I shall? Okay. Okay. So, well, let's have a look. Well, again, you may see here modal verbs. Yes, you might, perhaps, you might like. Again, some, introductory phrases which, let us show our opinion somehow. I think, in my opinion, right to my mind, and that's it. Maybe a nice structure, why don't you? Okay, but I think this one can be used with very close people, naturally, not with in not a formal style, right? So, and natural subjunctive mood, if I were you, right, and that's it. Okay, in Russian language, let's have a look at the examples. Again, we are not quite polite in giving advice, and we are we are in the habit of doing this, and we are fond of giving advice. So, what do we see here? Again, imperative mood, yes, on the one hand, and also it's quite common to start giving advice with the phrase «почему бы тебе не?» yes? Или «почему бы вам нет?» «Почему бы тебе не сходить погулять?» «Почему бы тебе не надеть платье?» and so on. Yes, it's a very common practice to ask advice, to give advice, sorry. Okay, and the last one, invitation, yes, or приглашение. Again, so let's have a look. Okay, is it that clear? Again, mainly the same rules. Yes, the same rules. Okay, now if you don't mind, could I ask anyone to summarize the main ideas? What is typical for the English language? What is typical for the Russian language? Well, for incentive speech acts. In general, the key characteristics. Okay, anyone? Who's the bravest?
You want to be polite in language acts.
Sorry, I don't hear for you well enough. So maybe could you come closer to the microphone if you don't mind? And would you mind introducing yourself, just for me to know to whom I'm speaking?
Yeah, Natasha.
Natasha, great. Okay, yeah. So, what are the means to express politeness in the English language? Okay, mainly.
In English language, to use modal verb.
Yes. What else?
Russian language, polite practicing.
Okay. Yeah. That's it. Only okay. Modal verbs and questions, right? Okay, that's it. So now really let's have a look at the second appendix in your handouts, right? So mainly in all examples we have just discussed, well, the so-called, as I have already mentioned, distance strategies are used. Yes, do you see it? Стратегия дистанцирования. So this strategy is divided into two tactics. Let's have a look. The first tactics, right? Shift of the tense. And the second tactics is the use of modal verbs. And each tactics is divided into two techniques. Let's have a look. Technique 1, right? Shift to the past or to the future. Technique 2, the use of the continuous tense. And the next, tactic 2. The first technique, the use of modal verbs in stable structures. And the second technique, the use of modal verbs in subjunctive mood. Right? Do you see it? Well enough. Okay, and now let's have examples of every technique, right? Of every technique. So, appendix 3. So, do you see it? Yes, have a look at it. So, the first, the shift to the past and to the future. Yes? Have a look at the examples and pay attention to the use of some vocabulary and grammar structures. Okay, but would you prefer to do it individually? Yes, do you need some time? Yes, okay. Okay, just a few comments. In the first column, you see the type of the speech act, right? It may be an instruction or invitation or request, right? So in the second column, you see the more polite way of expressing this or that idea, right? So the so-called indirect way. And in the last column, you see the direct way, which is less polite. And usually when we translate from Russian into English, we use this way. And these are the common mistakes how, well, the students usually do that. Not the mistakes, but not so polite as it could be, right? So then the second column uses the strategies and techniques which we have just discussed, okay? That's why I pay special attention to the second column. Any questions? Well, feel free to ask questions if you have some. Any questions? Okay.
Yeah.
Not a single question? So you're brilliant students, I should say. No questions. Well, but it's very difficult to talk when there are no questions, because no questions means no interest. I'm joking. Okay. Okay, so is that clear? Now, could you please, anyone summarize? So, how should we use the shift to the past to the future? What should we shift at least, or change? Yes, for example, open, will you open? I think, I thought. I wonder, I wondered. Yeah, is that clear? Okay, so the thing is, when we use the future, yes, or the past, somewhat we distance ourselves from what we are talking at the moment, right? Is that clear? As if it were not us and not now, but as if we were viewing this action, yes, from some distance, from the future, from the past, right? That's why the effect which is produced, we are not so intrusive. Yes, we do not impose our point of view on our interlocutor. Well, is that clear, right? And thus our utterance sounds a bit more, well, I think a bit softer, right? A bit softer and a bit indirect. Okay? So, is that clear? Because I'm asking the question, later on you'll have practice and you'll have to translate sentences from Russian into English with the use of these strategies. That's why if something is not clear, just ask right now. Okay. So, we'll just have a look at the next appendix, appendix 4. It's the second technique, the use of the continuous tense. Okay? Just a couple of minutes to get acquainted with the table. Oh, have you found that? Yeah? Okay. Okay, you see, I'm hoping. Yes, I thought, I was thinking. I was wondering. Do you see that? Yes? Just nod your heads if you see that. Could you nod your heads? Yes, good. Okay, so, well, Chris, could you please correct me if I'm not right, but when we use the continuous tense, it sounds even more polite and softer than we use just past tense, for example. Yes? I thought and I was thinking. I was thinking sounds even more polite than I thought. Yes? Is it right? Okay. So, any questions about this technique? No? No? Okay. Then the next appendix, the third technique, and we'll have 4 in subtotal. Okay, so the fifth technique, the use of modal verbs in stable structures. I think it's the easiest thing and you know how to do that. Right, so have a look. Let's have a look at this table. Okay, could, would, suppose, might, and that's and all other examples. Okay, questions? No, nothing? Okay, and the last one. That will be the last appendix. Well, appendix 6, right? So appendix 6. Well, the last technique, the use of modal verbs, in subjunctive and conditional mood, right? So I guess this also sounds very, very polite and very soft. Okay. Any questions? No questions. Okay, then the question to you then. So what do you think? Should we use all these rules when talking to friends, to family, or to strangers, for example, colleagues, our management, our boss? With whom should we use those strategies mainly? Can you imagine yourself talking to a friend? Would you be so kind enough to hand me, for example, something, hand over as a pen, for example? Yeah, or no? With friends, family, strangers? Sorry, didn't get you? Okay. But thank you for being so active. Okay.
Definitely not, because
Okay, that was it, thanks. Okay, yes, mainly these are to be used with, quite in a formal style, right, not to be rude. Okay, but still. Well, okay, now let's practice a little bit. Have a look at the first task you have, yes, задание 1. So now we'll see how you are good at those strategies. So you have some statements. They're quite direct and not quite polite, right? So your task is to, well, paraphrase those statements with the use of the distance strategies and techniques which we have just discussed, right? So to make them sound softer, more polite, less direct. So in the first column, you're welcome to write down, or maybe you could do it orally if you'd like, well, the type of the speech act, or whether it's a request, or whether it's, well, an instruction or an order or something, or advice, for example, right? And provide your variant, well, which sounds, well, more indirect, okay? Let us try. So, shall we start from right to left, or left to right? Unfortunately, I don't know your names, that's why I can't address directly. So, from right to left. Yes, I guess. Yeah? Okay? Okay? Great, thanks.
Let's have
Okay. Yes, and what's the well, multi-line way to express the same idea?
would you mind wait us?
Yeah, right, why not? Yes, thanks. Well, that's it. Okay, the second, please. Okay.
Thanks, Mama.
Okay.
I say let's talk about the request.
Okay. A request or maybe suggestion. Yes, I guess. Okay. Yeah. So.
That's the way.
Pardon?
Can we go?
Can we go? Yes.
Yeah.
Maybe better could we go? Yes. Could sounds a bit more polite than can, right? Okay. Could we go? Yes. Why not? Okay. Thanks.
I don't want to. I think so.
Well.
I think and the motion that
Oh, Paul, I don't get you. Could you just speak
you
up?
can
Maybe could you stand just to the right, to the right, to the right? No, there, or vice versa. I think, well, figure, there. Okay, we'll try.
and I want the motion that
Okay,
they writing.
well, just, well, you disappear, the sound disappearing. No, just, I don't hear you well enough, that's it.
Maybe some help.
You need some help. Okay, maybe could you use subjunctive? For example, if I were you, for example, I wouldn't spend a fortune there. Yes, for example. Okay, great, thanks, okay. Thank you. Okay then. Hi, nice to meet you. Okay.
And all money.
Okay.
Suggestion.
Well, suggestion, you shouldn't talk. I think we give our opinion, right? That means it's kind of advice, yes? Recommendation, advice. Okay?
Where do you?
Pardon? There it is?
Where do you? And so that's so funny.
Okay, great. If I were you, yes, I wouldn't talk. Why not? Thanks. Great, perfect, excellent. Okay. It. Okay.
I
Yeah. invitation, yes, I guess. When we invite somebody to do something, right, with us. Invitation, right, so, maybe suggestion. Okay, so, how will that be more polite?
Maybe we go
sorry, the first part, could you repeat? Sorry, didn't get, I what?
why don't we go?
Why don't we go? Yes, why don't we go? Nice, yes, if it's a friend, yes, that's perfect. Okay, yes. Would you mind going to the bar, right? Yeah, more formal one. Okay then? Okay, next.
Oh, my next one is
Oh, pardon? Yeah, you can. I can. Mm-hmm.
we should better go to the cafe instead of
Okay. Well, what is it? Sorry.
go to the cafe.
Oh no, the cafe, right? But what is it? What type of speech act is it? Invitation, request, suggestion. What is it? Suggestion. Okay, great. Yes. Mm-hmm. And your variant? Mm-hmm.
Gesture, and it will be better. It looks like better.
Well, it will be better. Yes? No? Could you repeat a bit? Sorry?
It's better. It looks like better.
Okay, better, but I think it's not quite polite. Maybe if I did it right. So did you? Pardon. Have you said it would be better? Yes? No? No, just I didn't understand what you said. Yes?
Yes.
So maybe should would in general should better, would better. It's not quite polite, right? We just impose our point of view on the speaker, right, on our interlocutor. Maybe again, maybe would you mind going to a cafe, right? Yes, that would be right. Okay. Mm-hmm. So okay then, next. Okay. Thanks. Nice to meet you. Sorry, I just don't hear you absolutely. Okay. Mm-hmm. Yes. Pardon? Don't hear you. Would you like to come this way? Yes. Would you like? To go this? Yeah. Would you like? Yes. The beginning of your sentence. Would you like? Okay. Yeah, that will do. That will do. Thanks. Mm-hmm. Okay. So 3 left. Mm-hmm. Okay.
It's a request.
Okay. Perhaps a suggestion, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Maybe I will walk from this.
Okay. Well, could you repeat the beginning?
The rest is the walk.
Okay. Just I'm sorry, but maybe we should do something with the sound. Our technical specialists, perhaps. Well, is that possible to do something with the sound? No? With the microphone?
Receiving feedback. We get feedback. We get heroes.
Well, pardon?
This is very neck. We can hear what they are saying. We can hear ourselves.
Okay.
Outside.
Okay. So just if it's okay, let's proceed. Yes, but just sorry for my not hearing you. Yes, I do my best, but really the sound also is echoing and disappearing. Okay, just could you repeat once again? Yeah. Okay.
I want to get actually.
Uh-huh.
Sorry.
Just, I always don't hear the beginning of the phrase, but hear the ending of the phrase. Okay? Just, I don't know. Okay. Okay, maybe we should just pictures. I'm sorry. Okay. Okay, maybe I suggest the variant. Okay. A bit better, right? Uh-huh.
I want the red.
Uh-huh. Okay, so, okay, maybe I will suggest my variant if you don't mind, as you hear me well enough, okay? So, okay, thanks for your time still. Okay, we'll just take a seat, because I will not torture you any longer. Okay, just, when you count this, or, yes, would you count this way, yeah? Or would you mind counting this way? Okay, the next, maybe let me just read, yes? And you just know them if you agree and if you don't agree. Then. Okay, do you want to dance? Well, maybe would you mind dancing? Yes, or shall we dance? Okay, the next, won't it be better to have the candles lit? Yes, perhaps would that be a good idea, or would that be a good idea to have the candles lit? Yes, or would you mind having the candles lit? And the last one is the telephone I can use. Well, could I use some telephone? Yes, for example, would you mind my using the telephone? Okay, so that will do then. The next task. Now here you have some sentences for translation. Yes. Well, these are actually dialects. Well, dialect number 1, dialect number 2. Well, but I really doubt how we could do that with the sound like that. But still, okay. Will this work now with your partner, if you don't mind, right? Does everybody have a partner? Or could you choose a partner? Yes? Could you? Right? And will you please now, translate the dialect in pairs, right? One by one. So the first of you, will be translating, the first, for the first person, for the person locator, and the second for the second. Okay, we'll do it on the spot. Is that difficult? Not? Not difficult. Okay, just some minutes, and then I believe you. So I trust you. I cannot hear you, but I trust you. Okay. So 5 minutes. Okay, 5 minutes. Will that be enough? Okay. But remember to use the strategies, those distance strategies, right? Okay, well, Chris, are you here? Are you with me?
I'm here.
Yeah, Chris, would you be so kind to help to monitor the process for me? So, I mean, whenever students do not anything, could you help them? Yes? Okay, yeah? Yes.
That's fine.
Well, exercise 2, dialects, yes? They're just making dialects translated from Russian into English, right? And could you help them with the English, as I do not hear well enough, yeah? Yeah, in terms of those strategies, right? Being polite enough.
No, that's actually mine.
Yeah.
That's my language. No idea.
Okay. So I throw with the first dialogue? Yes? No? Okay. Okay. I have a suggestion. So, yes, will you listen to me? So, if you don't mind, would you mind doing task 2, 3, and 4 in a written form and send them to my email? Will you do? Okay, now let's discuss what you should do, and then, you ask questions whenever you have, and naturally I will email back to you giving feedback, okay? Will you do? So let's have a look. So exercise 2, you can do it individually, yes? You should translate 2 dialects from Russian into English using the distance strategies we have just discussed, yes? And at home maybe you have a chance to study those examples, those techniques in detail, right? So for you to have an idea of what you should do. Then have a look at exercise 3. Let's have a look what you should do here. So you have some situations here, right? And you should, make, a question or a request, right? The way it is asked in the situation. For example, ask your boss to sign your application. Yes? You should make a sentence, for example, will you be so kind to sign my application? Is that clear? Right? Is that clear? Yes. And task number 4, there is a situation and you should act out with your partner. What I would ask you to do, firstly, will you please make this dialogue not individually, but with your partner, maybe out of class? Will you have such a chance to talk to your partner out of class, right? Yes? To make the act out of dialogue. Right. And that is why you should send to me 1 dialogue for 2 of you, right? It should be the same dialogue for a pair, right? So, and have a look at the task. The situation is as following. There are 2 friends. You are living in a hostel. Well, is that clear? Right? So one of you falls ill. So, student A, you should ask your neighbor or your roommate to help you, because you are ill. Maybe you can ask for some medicine, for some help, for some tea, whatsoever. But you should be kind enough. Let's imagine that it's not your friend, but you are living just for the first week together. That's why the person is not quite well known to you. That's why you should be quite polite. And student B, you should give advice to your partner what he or she should do and should not do to recover. Right? Is that clear? So you should give advice. But again, your advice should be very, very polite. Okay, not to impose your point of view. Well, is that clear? So you have 3 tasks in subtotal. Well, I guess, Chris will give you my email. Okay? Yeah, so let's agree upon the date. When will you be able to complete the tasks and email them to me?
By tonight.
Well, okay, will 1 week be enough? Right? Okay, then I'm waiting your emails, I guess by Monday. Okay? Monday, the 1st of, April. Okay, yes. Will that do? Okay, so just sorry for not hearing you again, but I think it's due to some issues. But I'm hearing well enough how you're laughing. So, it was it was the first experience. It was very exciting for me. I was very, very nervous. Really, it's my first open lecture. So, yeah, it's time. Okay, so bye bye. Okay, and it was nice to meet you. No? Okay. Okay. Holiday. Well, sorry, I didn't get it.
We have a holiday.
You have a holiday.
So the latest holidays. So we invite to next day.
Okay. So will do. Okay. So pardon. My English mistakes, if there were some, because I was very, very nervous. Okay, and some technical issues somehow distracted me from the lecture somewhat. Okay. But hopefully you enjoyed the lecture. Well, did you? Yeah? Okay. So it was nice to meet you. Hopefully it's not the last class and we shall meet next time, but I hopefully will manage to cope with those technical issues somehow. Okay? Bye-bye. Okay?
Bye.